October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and the Oceanside Museum of Art is getting ready to unveil its latest multimedia art exhibit that examines some of the factors leading to intimate partner violence. So with me now to talk more about this and the exhibit is Katie Dolgov, the Oceanside Museum of Art Director of Exhibitions and Collections, and as well as Lisa Bryson, the artist, who is being featured here as well. Thank you both for being here. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's talk about the main message of this exhibition, why it's important for people to get to see it right now, and kind of what it means as a result.
Absolutely. So now is a really important time to see it. My Intimate Partners, the name of the exhibition, curated by Smedar Sampson. And like you said, it's looking at the intersection of intimacy, power, and control that often underlies intimate partner violence, IPV, domestic violence. And we're really looking to broaden the perception of intimate partner violence beyond a women's issue into the social landscape that often leads to violence, and looking at the viewers' personal relationships to this really important topic.
It really feels like education can be a really powerful thing as far as helping people understand this issue. What about art? How does art factor in here, and is that unconventional to use art as a way to kind of educate people?
It may be considered unconventional, but art is always a vehicle to address topics that we're ashamed of or afraid of, or maybe we just aren't willing to bring forward, and art kind of addresses it in a different way. It's very visual, and so it kind of opens up a dialogue that maybe we wouldn't allow to take place normally.
So tell us a little bit about the pieces that you've done for this. Are there other artists who are featured as well?
There are other artists. You can talk to how many artists there are.
Yeah, there are 12 artists and artist teams. We're part of the World Design Capital 2024 San Diego Tijuana. So they're all from the San Diego Tijuana region, and they're using sculpture, painting, drawing, dance, poetry, performance. This is a broad exhibition.
It seems like such a specific cause. Is this something that a lot of people who are artists have been directly affected by, or know somebody, I guess, who's been directly affected by it, and that kind of talks to the art?
Well, I couldn't talk for all of the artists, but I can talk for myself, and it was definitely something that I experienced in my own life. And so the piece that you were asking me about, it's a triptych, it's a drawing, and it's very in your face, it's very confrontational, it's not quiet, and it's meant to be that way because I finally was kind of given the space to speak out on my own terms.
And how did that help you? I mean, to express yourself through your work?
It helped me because I was willing to say, hey, this happened to me, instead of hiding from it, because there is so much shame involved in it. You have to confront that shame. And so it finally was an avenue for me to say, hey, this happened, but I'm moving past it.
Katie, what do we hope people take away from this experience, seeing all of this art at the Oceanside Museum, and how do you hope people maybe think differently about it, or maybe feel differently about the situation?
Absolutely. Well, whether we like it or not, everyone is part of this conversation. So this exhibition is an opening for people who may be in abusive relationships, people who may be perpetrating the abuse, and all of the bystanders, our friends, our family, and strangers. Art offers an open and accessible and possibly an easier way to learn about this very challenging topic.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you feel like you are surrounded by art. You're in a place where artists can safely express themselves around this topic, and you can begin to see the patterns emerging, so we can help be a part of the solution, identifying and eliminating it.
It's interesting you talk about people who are affected by, or maybe perpetrators of. Are there people who don't realize that they're in a situation like this, either as a perpetrator or as on the wrong end of it, I guess? And like, how does DV show up in a way that shows power and control that maybe isn't even physical violence?
Sometimes, and a lot of times it isn't physical violence.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very subtle, and it's more of kind of controlling that person's identity, not allowing them to have the freedom to express themselves. It's taking control over many aspects of their life, and also the abuser is usually a victim themselves, and we need to look at it that way and address it and say, hey, you know, this conversation is for everyone to be a part of, whether you are the abuser or you are the victim of the situation. We are all victims in it, and we need to be brave enough to address it.
It's interesting, a lot of these things are able to come forward, like you're talking about, with the ability to talk through art, that people may not realize how widespread it is. How as a community can we better support people who may be victims of this? Maybe it's going to an art exhibit like this, or like maybe just even to recognize that this exists.
Well, absolutely. We are so actually honored to be sponsored and supported by the Women's Resource Center of Oceanside. as well as the County of San Diego District Attorney's Office. And through their support, they are providing resources that visitors can access if they want to learn more, or if they realize that they need to seek help. They can find ways to safely do so through the resources in the exhibition, or go to oma-online.org, access more resources there, and really you can't do anything until you learn about something. You need to confront these issues, and you need to be brave enough to learn about them.
It's such an important issue that I think, again, it maybe isn't talked about a lot, but maybe the more we talk about it and show art and show different ways of expressing it, people will understand it better.
Exactly.
Katie, Lisa, thank you both very much for coming in to talk about it. Best of luck with this. It's at the Oceanside Museum of Art. It opens up this weekend on the 5th. Goes through March 16th, so it'll be there for about 5 months or so if folks want to check it out. And we have some info on our website if you want to check it out. There's a link on fox5sandiego.com under the Scene On tab if you'd like to get that information. And we'll be right back here on the Fox 5 News at 1.